it started.
Just one memory. Any public comments today? Okay, hearing no public comments, let's ask Dave to pull up the minutes from the prior meeting.
All right, sharing the minutes from September 3rd. Including our approving minutes, officer elections.
So Kim, you were officially added to the vice chair list and nominated and approved. As you
That's fine.
yeah, we figured. So good, thank you. Believe Kim has indicated that she was on board with that. And did we resolve the treasurer? Yes.
Yeah, that's me. Unless, somebody somebody really is wanting to do something, let me know. But no, I'm happy to do it this
Yeah,
year.
and I see that in the
I'll learn something new.
very good. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to read the minutes, so I'm just skimming them right now.
I didn't have any changes or great.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Well, I guess there was one thing that wasn't included that I just wanted to know if we want, depending on the level of granularity we wanted to go to in the minutes, and that was, we talked a little bit about public outreach around the Ellenbrook bridge and the importance of that. I didn't know if it was if folks felt like it rose to the importance level to include a bullet that we discussed the importance and potential for public outreach, given that it may go into another winter unresolved.
I had a question about that actually, because following the news article. I mean, kind of unrelated to the point that Reed is saying, so we could either address that point, but it seemed like from the news article, that it was really the select board having a big responsibility to it, and our interest is obviously because of the access to the nature trail, and it's an important, trail. But I don't know that we have any jurisdiction over it, technically. Like, maybe it's a moot point and it's beside the point. But maybe is that right, Dave? Like, are we just mostly being informed of it, or do we actually have any authorization or budget responsibilities for that?
You don't have any budget responsibilities, but the Conservation Commission charter is very broad with regards to advising on
Yeah,
all aspects of natural resources in the town and how that interacts with recreation and access and all that. So yeah, there's the Conservation Commission is if you have a recommendation, it's valuable to give that information to the select board and make sure you have the information about what's going on as well.
Right, like you and the select board could work it out just between the conservation planner and the select board, but we have a good conservation commission
Right.
with experience.
Yeah.
Dealing with these things, including getting through the revision in 2021 that didn't last more than 2 years.
Right.
So
I do have a touching base on that on the agenda today.
Let's
So we can
reassess
talk about that.
public outreach.
So yeah, let's just check.
yeah, did anybody else feel like it was important to include that in the minutes? I can go either way. I noticed that it wasn't in, and I did notice that the select board conversation sort of the night before sort of went wandered a little bit from what we were thinking and discussing as a commission, so.
Yeah, I'll just say I summarized this conversation fairly distinctly, when I discussed possible ways to prevent unsafe crossings. In that discussion was
Yeah.
the need for communication strategy.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that is probably good, and if we need to have a separate communication strategy, once we sort of know more about what's happening.
Okay. I'm good to
Yeah.
not put in,
Yeah.
sure. Thanks.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay,
I'll second.
Laura, read seconds. All who were present in the last meeting, and approve, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
And one abstention, great, motion carries, minutes are approved, thank you, everyone.
just giving a roll call real quick. Let's see, is everyone here? We're missing anyone?
It looks like everybody's here.
Or, so that was 5, 4, 1 abstention.
Yes,
Who's second?
I seconded,
Okay, great.
Laura
Thank you.
motion.
We're moving fast here
Yeah, perfect.
at 7:14. Okay, Dave, we are right on time now.
Okay.
Conservation planner update.
All right, so lots to share, but I wanted to start off with a memo. So I was asked to type up a quick summary of the activities out on the bridge and kind of the decision point that has come to the town at this present moment. And I was asked to type that into a memo to share with the select board so they could weigh in on the direction for the town. So I hope you got a chance to read this. I won't review all of this. You're aware of most of this. This was just my attempt to summarize the project background, going back to the initial cause or the initial start of the chain of events. It's kind of hard to pin on exactly one thing. Back in the December 2023 flood was when the undermining began. A little bit about the project history, which began well before my arrival, funding that has been approved, the players in the project, and also just some of the reasons why it's gone a little slower than originally hoped. Part of that being a staff capacity. And then the project update as just to what's gone on this year, what I've been able to get done in terms of working with the engineering company and working with the state agencies. So this was for the select board, essentially a summary of all that information leading to the present moment, which is we know that we're going to get approved for our permits. We have the wetland scientist, we have the delineation where the permits are going to be going out the door shortly. But we also know that we're not practically going to be able to get this work started this season because of limitations on when you're allowed to work in streams and wetlands and the time that will take for the permits to be officially approved, as well as the time that will be required for a bidding to bid out the stonework to a new contractor. So now that component of the project is approved. So with all that background, what I did was I just put, some of the aspects from our conversation into a couple of options for the select board in terms of if they are assuming they understand the situation from the summary. The question that we discussed last time, what to be done with the bridge in the next 8 to 9 months. So the status quo, certainly leaving it as is definitely an option. We know that there's signs up, it's officially closed. We know that the bridge does hold the weight of people. We also know that people are crossing frequently, and that's a safety and liability concern. I presented the idea of a partial demolition, working with Josh, Timber and Stone to essentially begin the work, the first step of the work to take out that damaged section. And then as a third option, sort of hedging on the first would be to install another temporary support. I didn't put on this list building up a bigger barrier. It's certainly a direction that could be explored, but I think is not necessarily one that is likely to be worth the money or successful. So the feedback that I got from
Hey,
this was,
David, can you explain what did you mean by building up a bigger barrier?
oh, attempting
Just to
to,
like keep people from using it while it's unstable.
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
like
Sorry,
instead of,
I went straight to building a barrier in the river. Okay,
oh yeah,
that
no,
makes
fair
sense.
enough. Yeah, so instead of the wooden slats that are there, could you
sheet
put up,
metal or
yeah, could you
something.
put up a large, piece of plywood to fully fence it off? Yeah, I don't see that as being, I see that as being an arms race with the community that has proven that they use this bridge. So I don't see it as likely to be successful, or worth the fun. So I didn't present that option, although it was brought up to me. The feedback that I got was the select board did not demonstrate strong decisiveness on this issue, but they did indicate that safety is the priority. And from that, internal conversations indicated that I should be exploring option 2.
Mhm.
So I've reached out to Josh from Timber and Stone, who's available for this. He's going to be getting me a quote. And the plan would be, assuming that we can line it up, to
Delete the
simply
middle section.
take out the damaged sagging section, install temporary barriers, or rather, repair the railing so that the viewing platform is just a viewing platform, and the intact boardwalk on the other side doesn't end as a bridge from nowhere, but has a railing at the end that would make it safe for the winter season.
Mhm. And is this something that they would have to come in and do anyway? I mean, they're gonna have to fix it, so they're gonna have to take it out, do something, put it
Yes.
back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the reason why
Some overlap.
I put this
Yeah,
option on the menu, is that it is the first step that would have to happen anyways, is that the damaged section would have to come out
Mhm.
so that the equipment can get down into the stream, lay the stonework and put in the new pilings. So it's not wasted time or wasted money or,
Yeah.
or something that is just has to be
Right.
done anyways.
Given that
that makes
it's,
sense.
yeah, given that it's dry right now,
Right.
it's almost like getting pre-work done.
Yeah.
In effect, so if miracles line up and maybe if frosts come late, or something happens and the stars align, and we were actually able to get the approval to do the work this fall. If, again, not saying that that's a possibility, but might as well get a jump start on what needs to happen as a first
Right.
case anyways.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So river's so low, there's a,
Yeah. Yeah, do what you can while you can. If it ends up being a delay, I think putting some kind of signage to say construction has begun, temporary closure until the bridge is fully repaired would be a good idea to sort of address what you appropriately identified as a community ongoing use. It might help soften the blow a little bit. I see Eric has his hand up.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. And I was actually going to make the same point that Dave was just making, that I think it would be very beneficial to us in the town to post some signage, informational signage at both sides of the bridge, and maybe in the bulletin board or something at the community park or wherever that kind of thing might be visible, explaining the status, because I think we much talked about this last time. I'm sure I know I'm getting questions from friends who use that bridge, and I'm sure the rest of other Conservation Commission members are too. So there's a lot of people wondering about the status of it. Well, I've got the talking stick. One other comment I had on the memo looks good to me. I would just suggest including, it's in the at the end of the project update section, including the total project cost or estimated cost. You kind of have it in there, but rather than having the select board do the math themselves, maybe just tell them that the total project cost may be 25 to 40,000 or something like that, whatever that might be.
Yeah, it would be, the original price tag was 50, including the engineering costs, so it may very well be
65.
75 to, or
Okay,
yes,
well, yeah.
65 to 80. Yeah, that's a good point. I appreciate that. This was presented.
Just
Oh, it
prior
was,
last.
okay. Oh, okay, whoops, all right, never mind then, sorry, memo looks great,
No
no
worries.
comments.
I appreciate that now, yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna mention, that I believe it's an option for you, David, when you're preparing memos like that for the select board. Even if we're not gonna meet before you need to deliver it to them, you
Mhm.
can send it out to us and we can just reply directly to you as individuals if we have any
Yeah.
major comments, and that allows you to decide, oh geez, the Conservation Commission has significant comments, maybe I gotta hold off on the memo and tell them
Yeah.
after the next meeting we'll have a memo. Versus like, nope, everybody's pretty good with this, so we're good to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you gotta do your job, but
Right.
if you feel like you wanna take our temperature,
Yeah,
we've done
yeah,
that in the
fair enough.
past and we're pretty good about at least a few of us opining, so you know whether there's general support or general
Right,
concern.
right. Yeah, I do
But it was
appreciate
good, the
that.
memo was good.
Yeah, that was asked for and delivered on Thursday
Yeah.
afternoon before vacation, so
Yeah.
it was a little hasty, but I think
Yeah,
I'll leave.
no
it.
worries. I'll just third that I think if we're gonna delete the middle and put up a barrier at the end of those two viewing platforms, there needs to be something on the end there that says, you know, good news, work has begun.
Right.
New safe crossing anticipated summer 2026. For more information, check the town website or like something.
Mhm.
We have to turn the conversation positive because right now the conversation is like a passive aggressive battle between the town and the people. And that doesn't lead to good things. So we have to turn it around to be something positive, like, hey, we're working on this. Here's where you can find more information or find out. I mean, heck, if people really care about it, say, to donate to the project. Because people can donate to our conservation budget. So say to donate to this project, here's how to do that. Because some people really care about it and they're struggling to figure out how to get over to the rec park and the school, and they want it reopened.
Mhm. That's a good point.
And funding may be a challenge, given that it's gonna be more expensive than we had planned for.
Just following up on that, Reed, people can donate to the conservation fund. Is it tax deductible or is it just a straight donation?
That's something we'll have to figure out, and as treasurer, I think I should probably take a look.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
In past years, I know that either Gary or before Gary, I keep thinking of Jew's name, help me out. Eric, who was treasurer for forever and forever? Carl, thank you. So I think Carl in the past had gotten an answer for us on like, yes, we can accept donations toward town conservation projects and here's how. So I will
Okay.
see if I can find emails about that and or ask, because
Okay.
that gives people a constructive way to contribute instead of being like, I'm just gonna take down this barrier and cross anyway.
Mhm.
Might be good to figure out like if people can earmark for like a certain
Project, yeah.
project rather than it just going into like the ERF or something.
Right.
I feel like we do have minutes about that.
Does the town have the full budget for the bridge?
Meaning
Do we have the full budget for the 70,000?
how much it's gonna cost?
Yeah.
Oh, is there funding for it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so $50,000 was approved. We all need to go to the select board to officially have them approve whatever the rest is gonna cost when we have a number for that. I don't anticipate that would be a challenge,
okay,
but yes, that the funding would have to be
okay.
approved.
Well, before we jump to any conclusions that a signage needs to have a fundraising request, like I would think that you would need that to be approved by the select board. I don't think we would want to send the signal that the town doesn't have the money to fix the bridge, and that's why it's not getting done.
I
So-
agree. I agree. I think that's definitely something we should investigate a little bit. It doesn't hurt to ask for donations to the Conservation Commission Fund or whatever, the ERF, but something specific like this where the donations may not accelerate the project in timeline may not be
Yeah,
beneficial in the
Yeah.
long run.
As a capital project for the town, I don't know exactly, that may differ from donations to the ERF. So,
right.
but as requested, I will look into it.
Oh, yeah, I'll find out what the deal is, should we ever want to use that lever.
When is the construction or demolition likely to start?
October, November. I don't
Okay.
even have a date yet. I just talked to Josh yesterday.
Okay,
So
cool.
I'll be getting down there to take another look and prepare a quote.
Okay. Well, maybe given the interest from the commission, we can get a draft look at any signage that
Sure.
you'd be thinking about.
Yeah,
before
good idea.
posted. Great.
So the other related component, so after the beaver dam broke out this spring, at least some beavers, or a relative of the beavers, swam upstream and set up shop in this wetland right here, privately owned, 4 acres, or sort of it's disjunct with this part
They're gonna-
of this home site across.
They're gonna be flooding out Kim's backyard any day. Good luck, Kim.
No, because I'm further up the road. I will say, like, they have, yes, this has been like the conversation of our neighborhood this spring while we were out of the country, and the people that were living in our house were like giving us like play-by-play beaver neighborhood updates. So
You're in this neighborhood,
Yeah,
Kim?
to the right.
we're in Lefebvre, so we're like
Oh.
this number 9. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. We're one of those houses. So it's
Oh, wow.
I can tell you what it looks like if that's helpful, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have your eyewitness account. So the landowner contacted me earlier this spring when the beavers were just getting started, and I went out there and took a look. And my conclusion was that there was not an imminent or strong risk of road flooding from the activity. There had been a tree that was nibbled down across Lefebvre Lane, and the landowner went ahead and cleared it. So there was concern about trees. I had a talk with the landowner, just reminding him of the state policies, and landowners have the right to trap beavers that are deemed to be causing conflict with certain recommendations. Landowner does have option to remove a dam in the first 2 years of its establishment, I believe is the rule. So there are options for the landowner. At the time, my recommendation was, that nothing needs to be done right now. I heard from the landowner earlier this week that they are increasingly concerned about liability on the land, and that with this pond there, if someone were to be injured on their land, that could come back to haunt them. And they're most likely interested in moving through with removing those beavers. They would also, however, are very interested in having nothing to do with this chunk of wetland. It's a 2-acre undevelopable chunk of wetland, and would be interested in deeding it to the town, because then there is no liability. So that is a question that the Conservation Commission has a direct sort of direct route to weigh in on. I do not think when we talked about this earlier in the spring, the conclusion was this is likely not a property that it would be a high priority to spend ERF dollars on, mainly because it's undevelopable. So there's little risk of conversion. The state wetland rules are very strong. The entire parcel is wetland. There's not really much that could happen there that would compromise the function of that wetland from direct development. However, there's the secondary conservation question here of wildlife conflicts and cohabitation. So I wanted to bring that information to Conservation Commission, get an initial temperature, opinions, questions, thoughts. I do plan to go out there and take a fresh look with the landowner. Kim will be interested to get your opinion on how the beavers have been affecting the neighborhood as well.
I don't think they have affected anything substantially in any substantial way yet. I will say that like the neighborhood is like I think if it was our HOA land, we would have done something already like beaver baffled. And those beavers, like, or as you said, their relatives have done similar things further up the road on land that is like behind um that's like Lefebvre HOA land. Not that big strip. That strip that you're in is owned by somebody who either I don't know if they moved, but they purchased that little trickle as a conservation move, and they live on like their house faces the main road. So I think we would have done something like I said, like a beaver baffle it as a neighborhood, because there are a number of homes in the HOA that like feel concerned. We just repaired the bottom of that road and replaced the culvert, and it was like super expensive for our HOA. And so I think the main concern that's the main concern, that like we just spent all this money on the bottom of Lefebvre Lane and that it could be compromised by any flooding. The water is not close to the road and it's been remarkably dry. So like I do think like a big rain event, it would be, interesting is not the right word, but I would be curious to see like what happened in a big rain event.
Yeah, Kim, where did the road flood out in Lefebvre? Like down
It
here?
it has never flooded out, but we just did the pavement was like all cracking. Ben is telling me that like the other concern is like in an ice event. Like, what do you mean? Like if the culvert was iced?
No, like if it's frozen over the winter and there's a rain event on top of ice.
If it's frozen over in the winter and there's a rain event on top of
If
the
you
ice.
get ice jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I think there's concern that like we just did all this repair work to the road and the culvert, and like would this then undermine all of that work that was just done. Having said that, like there's this like other funny issue with this in that Ben is on our neighborhood board, so I might have him like weigh in on this. But like we own the the rights to the stuff under the road, like the utility line. It's a private, so the road is not owned by the town. The road is the HOA's.
Right, it's a private road.
And then like there's like an easement for that home to like connect to like the utility lines. And so it's like this really sticky wicket between the HOA and the landowner about like what to do with this property. And like even if the beaver dam, do you see like that little tiny strip of land next to the road that is not, nope, like go back to his property, like go back to where the beavers are.
Yeah.
The beavers are.
Yeah, like that tiny strip between the road, right there, that's ours. So then if the beaver dam, like if they became on that, then we would maybe take action. So like I feel like it's actually like a tripartite conversation. And I also think maybe I should not vote at all. Like I'll just supply you information and then like not weigh in on what should happen, because I feel like it could be tough. Like I feel like my neighbors might have like things that they want me to say.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Great. Yeah.
Could we pull up for point of reference the ERF prioritization map and where
It's
this
low priority.
Crap is
Yeah,
on?
it comes up as low priority.
Okay.
I do think the one thing I will say is that like if we reprioritized based on like flood resilience, this area flooding does affect North Williston Road. And that there has been like in big rain events like in 2023, this did, Ben, am I right about this? This did contribute to flooding on North Williston Road.
I'm not sure about that.
Ben says he's not sure, but I think that that's true. So like just in that context of like, I don't know, I don't think we would ever want North Williston Road to have, you know what I mean? Like there's that bridge, there's like a little bridge on the bike path on the other side, and I think there was water over the road in that spot between those two, and you had to turn right, and then at the bottom of North Williston Road near Fontaine, like right before you get to the T intersection to go to Essex, was also flooded. So there was like a day that I was like trying to take my kids to camp or something, and I was like, can't get there.
Right. Now that has probably more to do with the Allen Brook there than it would any beaver activity in the larger wetland, I would guess.
Yes, 100%. I just mean that like in terms of the conservation value of this parcel, I don't think it's like high conservation value, but I think there is like a logic to like, let's do something about it for flood resilience.
Right, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, it could be, interesting, because what you would do on this site for flood resilience is you would
Leave it alone.
Well, you would probably be talking about like coarse woody addition, beaver dam analogs
Right.
in the Allen Brook, but here you have actual beavers doing that work.
It's saving us money.
So yeah, that's sticky. This stuff is challenging, and I think it's important to not minimize that. When wildlife conflict is easy to take a maximalist position on in either direction. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thanks for those comments, Kim. Anything else?
I don't think so. That's like the main, I mean, I guess if you wanted, I could like gather people's feelings in the neighborhood and summarize them, but I think I just conveyed it accurately. Like we're just, the bottom of the road is a concern. It's not near anyone's.
Right. I would say I would be surprised if this site could support a beaver baffle because it is very low gradient. That was my take when I went out there to visit it, but of course I'm not an expert, and I could certainly encourage the homeowner again to look into that. I don't think there was interest when I first talked, but I'd be happy to bring that up.
When the landowner said he would be interested in deeding it to the town, was he expecting a financial transaction?
I did not get that impression.
Yeah, he just wants to get it off his hand because he can't develop it anyway.
He's paying
Yes.
taxes on it too.
Yeah, there is a financial benefit in right, not having to pay taxes on it,
Yeah.
not having to maintain it, not having to really worry about this interest
Liability, yeah.
and the liability aspect.
And I mean, we can do what's right with it. I mean, it is along the Allen Brook, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so last time we talked a little bit about the passive and active strategy for the ERF. We didn't really get much into the active strategy, but we mentioned that as David and I were brainstorming some options for an active strategy, some of those strategy components could be like specific waterways. So do we want to focus on the Allen Brook, the Muddy Brook, Winooski River, and look at parcels that abut it for conservation? So this conversation fits right in with that.
I mean, it is an interesting sort of like philosophical question related to how do we approach circumstances like this where we have a parcel of land that currently exists in private ownership, but we've developed systems to protect resources such that there's no private gain that can be had from this. So
It's essentially
should the
conserved,
town
right.
does it make sense for the town to own or own parcels like this? It's a fair question. So it's an interesting puzzle. I think that it's not one you have to answer now. I know we've kind of spent a lot of time on this already. There's lots of things to talk about, but I wanted to get this in front of you today.
I think the main question, that I think we've kind of probably discussed this as much as we need to for now, but like, do we agree with the ERF prioritization being low for this parcel? And otherwise, do we want to make any recommendation or suggestions for you? I don't think we're ready to make any formal recommendations to the select board at this point or anything, but like, if there's any further guidance we can provide, Dave, it would be helpful, I guess, for us all to be on the same page as far as like, do we have a position on this parcel? Obviously, I don't want to speak for anyone here, but like, I personally think it would be great to keep beavers active, but obviously if it's going to interfere with landowners, then it would have to be managed, whether the town owns it or not, basically.
Right.
So,
But how's it managed? Is the question.
Yeah.
I mean, we could manage it maybe in a way that a private landowner wouldn't.
Like a baffle versus a trapping or
Right.
whatever.
what is the difference between that? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, the baffle is just like basically a tube infrastructure that allows water to move from above the dam to below the dam, regardless of the beaver making the dam bigger. So it basically keeps it from filling up as much.
But with the low gradient, that wouldn't work potentially here.
Potentially, it's not suitable for the site, we don't know,
Right.
all those things, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Tyler Brown attempted to put a baffle in
Oh, they
the
just
site.
go up there.
I believe this is the one.
Yeah,
that was
that's one, yeah.
Yeah. And found it just was not effective. It was too low gradient. And I think this is a pretty similar gradient from what I saw when I was checking out the site.
Mhm.
You know, this is very, very slowly
Yeah,
gains or
it looks more like a swamp than like a,
Yeah, this
ravine.
is an open wetland that will have standing water no matter what. At certain times a year,
Mhm.
but small drainages have been blocked to create the dam, which is also part of why there's a large capacity for holding and storing water here, and why my initial assessment was that it's not likely that this is gonna suddenly fill up and flood the road. It's more likely to flow out towards the rest of the parcel and into the stream, but that was just my initial take, and disclaimer, not a hydrogeologist
we
or
got an Eric hand, so.
Eric and Lynn.
I don't know.
There we go. Thanks. Very interesting conversation, and I agree with David. It's philosophical, certainly some philosophical aspects to it too. Just one other element to consider is that this is Allen Brook. It's impaired for stormwater. This town also maintains a flow restoration plan for Allen Brook, and may be worth consulting with that too to determine if Public Works, and I think Public Works maintains that plan, and if they have any plans for this area to improve flow through this part of the brook, and with the understanding that the reason we're on this topic is because of high flows upstream of the Allenbrook Bridge. And so if there is an opportunity to install some sort of interventions in this part of the brook to reduce downstream damage to new infrastructure that the town's going to be investing in, it might be worth considering that. I have no idea if there's anything more that can be done in this parcel to reduce downstream flows, but that's certainly something to consider. And that might include purchasing the parcel so the town can invest in something in that area.
Lynn, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand what the downsides to the town would be to acquire it, other than, potentially having to pay for it.
The main downside, I think, is what Dave was pointing out, is that, then it becomes your problem. A management problem is the town, it's now your responsibility to manage that. situation appropriately to, you know, mitigate that conflict with the,
Look at it, lane.
yeah, with the roads and with the neighbors.
It also takes a few acres off the tax parcel or tax roll as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Probably a minor financial and more of a logistical public relations.
Yep.
Headache to work through,
Right.
with potentially some extra control. But
So let's table this for now. It sounds like we don't have any formal resolution. You're gonna do a site visit again, David?
Yes, I'll be doing a site visit.
Great.
Okay, so,
I guess in your site visit, just keep an eye out if there's anything that would be sort of more than just flood or, you know, beaver related interest for the potential ERF. Like if we can rule out that this has ERF value for one reason or another, like, you know, flood remediation seems to me like an indirect
mhm,
ERF benefit. It's not like one of the primary benefits. So if that's all it brings to the table, like that would be good for future conversations.
sure.
The last thing
Okay.
I'll say is that on
Yeah, go
this
ahead,
is
Jen.
that, oh, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah,
That like
please do.
it would be, I do think it would be maybe great to check in with the white church.
Mhm.
When my kids were in daycare there, they had several flood events in the basement. One of them was because a pipe burst, but I think the other one was groundwater related. And so like I just wonder if they might like have an interest or a stake in collaborating around like I don't know, flood mitigation efforts in some capacity.
sorry about the Federated Church
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
south.
Because I think this must like, if not back up to their property, back up to the property that backs up to their property, and it would certainly affect. Like in my mind, the flood event that was groundwater there was also over North Williston Road and like the Allenbrook Bridge, etc.
Okay. Thanks, Kim. Good discussion. We are a little behind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, we'll visit some of these at a later time. I'll just note real quick, there's a new pollinator garden in front of the restrooms at Village Community Park, thanks to collaboration with Sustainable Williston. And some wonderful volunteers, Sue and Dana Basilier, I think is how you pronounce her last name.
Basilier, I think it's
Basilier,
French.
yeah. I spent a couple hours with them last Friday planting out that garden, and Sue designed it, supported by Todd at Parks and Rec. So that's a really nice project that came together. I'm going to be sending some volunteer dates to potentially help if you'd like to help Reed Parker move wood duck boxes. Dave and I got out to Five Tree Hill to look at possible sites for
Planting.
a planting. Maybe let's hold that one. We can talk about it if there's more time.
Sure.
And then what I do want to show you real quick is from the sign company. Okay, so at the top is the only image we have of the sign I'm trying to replace at the Commons Trail. Commons Trail, public easement on private property, please stay on trail. You can see it rotted out, was damaged and fully disappeared by now. So we agreed last time to experiment with some wood alternative materials. I went down to visit the folks who are making the sign. They're a really nice spot down in West Williston, on the industrial park down there. And I think that I think it'll be a good option to try. So the material is PVC, but once it's painted up, you wouldn't really be able to tell what the base material was to begin with.
How thick is it?
It's a good question.
I don't need the exact dimensions, but
Yeah,
like, is it substantial?
4 to, yeah, probably around 4 inches or something.
Oh, wow.
3 to 4 inches.
Oh,
It's like
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe that's probably a little
2.5.
large.
Like the thickness of a 2x4, like the table here.
Yeah, maybe 2
Okay.
3 inches instead of.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's not like
thickness
a
of the
1
table's
by.
about right.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a little piece of like, you know, plastic.
Like lawn sign.
Lawn.
No, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
corrugated lawn sign. It's
Okay. Perfect.
yeah, my estimation abilities are, it's probably, yeah, more like a 2x4, less than 2 inches, I guess. Okay.
Okay.
Not 4, that's very large. So anyways, we don't have this sign. There's no, we don't, I couldn't find any, we don't have any standards documents that anyone's created in the past with, this is the font we use, this is the color we use for Williston signs. So we're trying to invent it from scratch. This is the mock-up that they sent. I said, pick a yellow color that seems pretty close. They were able to pull a brown color from one of the other signs that isn't existing. So that should be pretty close.
Hey, Dave, we have a question from Eric.
Yes, we'll get there in a second.
Okay.
So I changed, other thing is I changed easement to trail
Mhm.
and property to land. Was just some small changes that I thought I kind of liked those changes. Less about less less property ownership and more about the purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
public trail and private land sounds nice.
so anyways,
Something
so this is what is proposed, and I wanted to submit to you for any comments on style, design, or text. Or any general questions. Eric, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that looks great, and I think it's a great idea to go with something more durable than wood. I really what I raised my hand about was just to share with you that the and I can find out what we use, but I think it's the same company that you're talking about or talking to, that we use for our wayside exhibits, which are the exhibits that are on the Allenbrook Trail now. There's the one right by the skating rink barn shed thing. That material, that composite material that we have sitting out in weather that has lasted for, in many cases, over 20 years. And is very durable. And maybe that's the same thing that you're talking about, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. And this looks good to me.
It really looks like the font is comic book sans.
I do not know fonts.
I know that they use comic book sans on trails signs because it's just like it's like less aggressive on the eyes, like
Okay.
the little flourishes.
Sans serif.
It's easier. It looks less sort of industrial
Mhm.
and
almost handwritten, but
and
not
looks
quite.
more handwritten and softer. It's just a suggestion.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's good. Comic book sounds, I think, would be good because
Okay.
it does have like a softer appearance
Got it.
than like because it looks fine, but it's gonna look very like industrial.
It's bold.
and
It's too, or feels too bold or something.
yeah, the font is just very straight lined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and you look at like where it says public easement versus public trail. You can see that like the placement of the letters is
Yeah.
just a little bit imperfect on public easement and the angle of the lines and stuff, so it's just a little bit more imperfect, and that makes it a little bit
Mhm.
less like government sign.
Right.
My only comment was gonna be Commons Trail could stick out more, so I thought public trail and private land could be made smaller in order to make
Yeah,
more real estate for
That was
Commons
my
Trail.
thought.
I think the name of the trail should be like significantly emphasized
Mhm.
with still plenty legible details about the nature of the land.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay. Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, just I'm noticing on the top that there's two nails or bolts or something to adhere it to the tree. And so without the extra space, see, like there's extra space between Commons Trail and public easement where that fits in.
Yes. Yep.
So if we're going to adhere it to this same tree or something similar, then we might want to allow for that extra spacing.
Yeah, thank you for putting that. We did actually discuss that. So That's, yeah, great point.
Yeah, fixed.
Yeah, great thing to point out, and I think shrinking this text a little bit will help accommodate that.
Is please stay on trail any different than saying users must stay on trail? I just didn't know if please stay on trail was too soft. Like, people really can't go off trail. It's not public land. Or stay on
I
trail. I
think
don't
the
know.
please is the nicety of
Yeah.
it.
I think it gets the point across, so, okay,
Okay.
this is private land. You really should stay on the trail.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I can add is that it's consistent with our
Yeah.
other signage currently.
Yeah, I think I understand Reed's point there. I think you lose a little bit with the public easement, the easement part gone and convert it and switching over to public trail. To me, maybe it's because I know this world, but easement tells me, okay, this is somebody else's property.
With permission to
Yeah.
use just the trail. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't think anyone will be able to. I think trail is a better term. I'm just, as a mock-up, I don't know if
Yeah.
you can see that. I know people online can't see it, but
Yeah, I can see how that looks more like it's painted on instead of.
Dave's showing us what Comic Sans looks like on his computer screen,
and it's really clear just in this mock-up
please.
that like.
Yeah.
These are definitely, that is definitely Comic Sans, and the trail is almost identical. from that.
Yeah, so I think Comic Sans is probably.
So Comic Sans is, I think, what they used on this version, and they probably just used a CNC router for it.
Okay.
So I think that looks better than
that.
I
Okay.
agree.
yeah.
Sure, I'll
Looks more
deliver all that feedback.
Smoky the Bear.
So
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
we get a quick, just to move on from this, because we're now 50 minutes behind, which is no one's fault, just lots to discuss. Can we get a general consensus on Eric's point of keeping easement?
I really think it's lost on like most people, like the distinction between easement versus trail versus whatever, like. I think
Yeah,
the private land is also an improvement over private property, so public trail on private land, to me,
Layman's terms.
yeah. It works for me.
I appreciate your comment, Eric, and I would agree. I think David's suggested language is probably better for general public, even though easement means something very specific to us.
Laura, are you gonna?
I was just thinking you want, maybe take public out of it and say this trail is on private land. That might make it sound more like. But that's just a suggestion.
I worry, I think this is a place where it's already, with these kinds of trails, I think it's important to be very clear that there is public access.
I agree.
And I worry if we took it out that it might, you're already
okay.
driving down Tower Lane, which is, it's a public road, but
It
kind of feels like, am I allowed to park here?
Right.
So kind of, can I use it?
Okay, yeah, so public's good there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
But I think it's true. I do like the thought of kind of simplifying further, but I think public should probably stay in.
I like that because my son and I were biking on a mountain bike trail that had kind of confusing. And it was like, is this a private trail? But it looked, and so it was like questionable as to whether or not we were allowed to be on it. So I like that clarity of public trail. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
actually, it is more welcoming.
yeah, I like that.
All right, great. So let's move on from that topic. Thank you for all the feedback. And let's back to Dave.
Okay, I think the next topic is to talk about the CVU projects. This was a pretty great series of work, obviously with some different levels of depth, I would say. And we talked about this in last month's meeting, and I think we didn't have
a quorum, yeah.
right. We didn't have a quorum. I think we had seen the links, but I think we wanted to put this back on the agenda for like a deeper discussion of is the material that these students at CVU developed worth putting up on the website in any capacity, or is it like a historical just record that is interesting and notable, but just kind of open up the discussion of like, what should we do with this? And so I'll just start. I started reading these students' projects and was both interested in some of the stories that they had to say. I certainly learned something. That being said, I'm not sure what public value it has, like for the website. So it was like if I was a historian, I would be interested in this material because it speaks of like a point of a time and of
People who were
and
there.
people, and like there was some interesting history and family lore that was like being passed on, and like so it seemed more of like a historical record to me, and like more suitable of like something that should be in like the Dorothy Allen
Yeah, the
Library.
Naval Archives or something,
Yeah.
like stories from Williston land.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it should probably be forwarded to the Historical Society.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Both great ideas. Both
yeah,
Historical Society and.
I sort of, I have a bunch of different thoughts that have swam around for me. One is that I feel like it's important to do something with it. I think the students did a good job taking the project seriously. There's some nice photographs. One of the pairs of students, I think it was the Isham Family Farm write-up, they actually have a transcript of the entire conversation in addition to their summary write-up, which was kind of cool to see word for word what their conversation was like. So my initial thought was something like what the UVM students put together when they interviewed a few landowners about rural property in Williston and stuff. Could it just be a story map online just like that? Take the 4 documents, put them into a single story map. They're just chapters in a story map. Land stewardship stories from 2025, right? It was the spring from 2025. And it's just a link. So when you're going through the website, and just like you can today find the story map that UVM students put together, could there just be a sister story map from CBU students from 2025? I love the idea to forward it to the Historical Society. I think there's definitely plenty of people who would be interested in documenting this for the town's historical record. But I don't know if folks have actually read all the way through them. If you haven't, please do go and click on them and read them to get a feel for it. I didn't see anything inappropriate in the write-ups. We do have permission from the CBU teachers and students for the work to be published publicly. That's why we were able to include them in the materials on the website. So there's nothing preventing us from using them or passing them on. I'm interested in everybody's thoughts.
I thought they were pretty interesting. There were some things in there I had no idea about, especially with the Johnson farmstead.
Yeah, same.
I think the idea of a story map is great, because then it's not buried and lost. And if people are interested, they can look at it.
I don't think it should take up a lot of real estate. For instance, it probably shouldn't be its own link on the navigation, but if you went to a page about land conservation in, or I don't know where we had the link to the current story map, but wherever we had the link to the current story map from UVM students, I would just put it right next to that if it were me. In a bubble.
And then tell the Historical Society.
And then tell them, hey, you might want to
Putting
put this in your archive.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
send it to the Historical Society? Okay,
If you have a contact, that'd be great.
yeah, I do.
So, Reed, would you be writing back to the school and asking the students to translate their work into, or what are you, well, I guess what is being proposed with regards
I
to?
think I've never created a story map
Story.
before on,
Yeah.
what service that was the other one on? Is it, like a GIS?
Yeah, Story Maps is an Esri platform.
I don't even know anything
Just-
about that, but I would be happy to work on just consolidating them into that.
Okay,
I mean,
think,
why couldn't we just post it as the initial works were developed? I mean, it's a.
Or we could put them onto a combined PDF and put. them
yeah, I
that
guess
way.
my thought is Story Maps has it's a fairly user-friendly platform, but it does take some figuring out. It takes some design elements.
It's not as simple as a copy and paste, right? You gotta
Yeah,
decide which
exactly.
Images and.
And you have to have access to the platform. So if the school had access to it, then,
Okay.
maybe another student group or something could take their work and turn it into a story map.
Then maybe just combining into one PDF is with separating header pages to say this is a separate.
In the sort of, I mean, I don't know how search engines work really at all, but would it actually be better to just have them linked separately under their current names? Cause I mean, cause then it would be findable and searchable, right? If you combine them, it's just one document name and you would lose the fidelity of the names of the actual farms and
Yeah,
properties.
I think PDF contents are indexed by Google search. So even if it's not in the name of the document, just having the chapters labeled and stuff would still show up.
Mhm.
But I mean, I can look into that.
Well, let's get a sense of.
It would also allow us to put an initial page at the top of the combined PDF that explains the project. So in 2024, the Conservation Commission brainstormed projects that CVU students could contribute to. This project was selected to capture stories from land stewards and landowners in rural Williston. Here are 4 write-ups from students in 2025.
I can also be the preamble on a website.
Or a blurb on the website with the link.
With the link.
To make it findable, if somebody's searching for like land stewardship, stories, history, we can include those terms for search optimization.
I think it would be perfectly fine for us to have a reasonable blurb like that on our website with the individual links and just make it easy on us. I mean, we've already got them. They're already uploaded on the website. We just need the link.
Sure. All right,
Make it easy.
do you want me to write a quick paragraph?
Sure.
And then you can insert that onto the appropriate webpage, because we're gonna talk about the orientation packet and our navigation anyway.
Yeah, we could do that.
Does anyone have any concerns with putting them on the website? I'm not hearing any. I just want to. Okay, great. Cool. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, I guess we can always say, if you're interested in story map stuff, we could talk more about it,
I just received positive feedback from members of the public who've looked at the story maps that are on the website. They're like, wow, that's really visually engaging, easy to use. I learned a lot.
And I know there's a lot to like that, the project design element that those students did.
And if the CVU teachers would like to do another project this year and they've got students who want to learn how to create story maps on Esri or whatever this platform is, then this is an option for a project. Like, here's people have done write-ups, now turn them into something that's more user-friendly. It's an interesting project for them.
Yeah. I agree. Story maps are great.
My one caveat about this is I think that they're trendy right now, and they're supported by Esri, and a lot of natural resource agencies are using them for public engagement and public planning. But I would want this to have longevity, to the point about the Historical Society having the documents, and I do feel like there's going to be a saturation and then a bust, and then if at some point Esri is well, no one's doing this anymore and we're not supporting the platform, I wouldn't want to lose it.
Right. Yeah, you don't want it to be the only copy of it. Yeah.
PDF's not going anywhere.
PDF's probably not going anywhere.
Thanks. Great. Thanks for that comment.
Okay, so that's settled.
I'll make a note to write a paragraph for you.
Thank you, Reed. Awesome work. So then the next thing that we wanted to cover under normal business was a continuation of the orientation package outline. And we do have some progress also on the website, and it's starting to function like a navigable website, which is cool.
I have not worked on it since that last.
Okay.
There's been too
So
many.
maybe I just was maybe I was just because I was looking for that ERF prioritization map. I was putting some of that some of those links to work and.
Right. Yeah, so if let's see, there might be some people who weren't here when we last looked at it. So on the Conservation Commission landing page, this was the idea of how to implement the orientation package was
Do you want to
just
share that?
through sublinks. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not sharing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lynn's probably like, what are we talking
Yeah,
about?
what are we talking about? So here's the town Williston Conservation Commission landing page on the town website. Are the basic blurb, when they meet, minutes and agendas, members. And then added these orientation subpages. So visit these orientation subpages for more information. These bottom two don't go anywhere yet, but this was an example. So the first chunk of resources that were all identified for the orientation package were, okay, how do we link to important documents that already exist that nobody needs to rewrite, that every person who is becoming a commissioner should be aware of, should maybe have an opportunity to read at some point, or at least know where they can find them for future reference. So we'll look at the outline again, but this is just a quick recap for folks. Some of those elements were guiding documents like the enabling statute on this from the state legislature, our 1987 goal statement, which is effectively a charter and is repeating the language from the BSA. Town plan chapters that are guiding. We can have links to annual reports going back however many years we have records for, and then other general resource pages that can familiarize either a member of the public who's interested in this, or of course, a new Conservation Commission member with important things that they should be aware of that you've identified. So I just put here as a quick example, this Act 59 summary page that VHCB puts together, which does a nice job. So
That's the 30 by 30.
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And we might want to give it a friendlier title so people understand like why we're linking it. Because like Act 29 or Act 59 doesn't really mean anything to anybody, but something that says like, what is 30 by 30? What is the 30 by 30 conservation goal? Question mark. Read more here, or I don't know, some way to so people know why they would want to click on that. Sorry, I had a question about the chapters. With the new plan, are those pointing to the new town plan chapters that just got approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Although those links may no longer be valid, since it's been approved, they might have been switched, so I haven't thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was hoping we could do is assign some homework so we can make some progress on this. Now, other than me, creating the actual links on the website, we need to know, what do you want linked? If there's a blurb that needs to be written up, maybe assigning some people to write those blurbs or do a little bit of research so that we can start to flesh this out. So here is the outline that Dave created back when first brainstorming what this could look like. This incorporates a list of things from Eric as well, all ideas about what would be useful information to have. So Conservation Commission founding documents and reference links was the first category that was identified, and you'll see some of those things I already pulled into that example page. Conservation Commission about us. This section is things that are more in your own words. So in your own words, what is it that a commissioner does? What does it mean to be involved in development review? What does it look like to be a commissioner? This is you describing the work that you do and the different components of it. So in this area, creating a mini timeline of important CC accomplishments and milestones, describing the scope of work for a commissioner. These are all things that I feel like could be assigned to a Conservation Commission member to write up or research a little bit more. And then a corollary to that is diving in with more resources specifically about the work that we do with DRB review, as that's a very technical component of being a commissioner. And so pulling together resources someone was aware that somewhere on the town website, there's a development permitting flow chart. There's all kinds of different useful resources related to this, some of which I can certainly find and pull together. But a lot of the research about what you want included related to this, I think will be most useful if it comes from you, as opposed to me just pulling together resources that I can find. If you can identify, oh, these are the things that I wish I, had known, or, here's a resource that explains this really well to me.
The Q&A, if you could just scroll back there, Dave. Yeah, this particular section was sort of designed based on thoughts that we have had about applicants who are coming here for the first time. Like, we have applicants who come here regularly, or they hire someone to represent them, and they know what they're doing and they know all of the steps involved. But for someone who is not familiar with that, or they're just kind of doing this on their own, we've had questions of like, what am I doing here? And what is this process? How many times do I have to be back here? This is kind of like a Q&A opportunity. And so that's how, I mean, the language that we used here was really like just broad and drafty. And so if there's ways to tighten this up or expand on it, I think that was sort of the thinking, is that, yeah, for an applicant who's never done this before, give them a sense of what lies ahead for them.
Can you actually put up on the screen this one, the page, the DRB role in public participation FAQ page? It's under public records and documents. You know what I'm talking about?
Can you point me to it?
Yeah, you go to public records and documents.
Yep.
Agendas and minutes, development review board. Well, actually, Google's the faster way to find it. I just typed in Williston, Vermont development review flowchart. There, yeah, you're on it. That one.
Yep.
Yeah, boom.
Found it.
That was fast. So
Google still works.
just to put this in, yeah. So my only reason to bring this up is there is this page out there. It was put together, I think, by like Emily and Melinda in 2023. When everybody was like, wait, what is even the specific, 2020? Holy smokes. Okay, anyway, maybe I'm dating myself. It feels like it was only 2023. There was a big hubbub about, I think this might have been when Glazer first popped up, and everyone was like, wait, what is the development review process, and what is the specific plan, and how does this stuff even come about, and why are my comments being dismissed because it's the wrong time to give those comments? So this was put together. It has a bunch of images, which I don't know, there might be opportunities to improve it, but if you scroll down on this page, David, there eventually it gets into a Q&A about the process, and Conservation Commission is that green cloud on the left in the bottom chart. So it says, where do recommendations come from that the DRB considers? And then it goes into question and answer about all sorts of things. What is a select board? What is a DRB?
That's really perfect.
And then it has short and long answers to different questions. So it's got like, hey, if I only had 3 sentences to explain this to you, here's what I'd say. But if you want to know more, here's the long answer. That sounds very much like a Matt Boulanger thing.
Yeah.
Here's the short answer, here's the long answer.
Definitely a Mattism.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can see some influence there. So my only comment is this already exists. I don't think the Conservation Commission should be the owner of a document about the DRB process. However, we might want to submit a few Q&As on the conservation pieces of this to this page and then link to it from our stuff. That's my suggestion, is like, maybe we can just improve what the DRB has with our comments and then link to it. That might save us some time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think as much as possible, you should not be reinventing the wheel. My thought is that if there's something that is useful for you to know as a commissioner, and especially thinking back to when you first joined, for folks who've been on the commission for a while, saying, okay, what do I really wish I'd known? If this is a resource that'd be useful, let's link it. Right? Let's not redo it. However, I think there is value to some of the things that were identified in that outline. It'd be valuable to have you write something in your own words about what the Conservation Commission does. And I would say that
This could be
it
supplemental.
doesn't even necessarily have to interact with this, like, I don't. We could certainly submit updates to this, but I think this is more for a general audience. I'm trying to understand the DRB process. But I think with an eye towards, the purpose of this project, just to orient somebody who's becoming a new commissioner, what do they need to know about the role of a commissioner in this process?
Okay, that's helpful, because I think we were probably thinking about it in two different lenses. I was thinking about it more like what this page is, and you're thinking about it more of like, we're gonna have turnover in the commission. We need to be able to onboard people quickly and let them know what their role and scope is. So like that's a
Those are
very
different lenses.
hopeful screen for us as we think about this, is that we're perhaps talking amongst ourselves rather than sort of sharing information out to the public.
Yeah, and I think they're both valid, but I think to execute this project, I think it will be helpful to kind of rein in the scope a little bit and note that, as the commission, it doesn't fall on you to have to bear the burden of educating the public on the entire process, even though understanding that process is helpful. So I think, yeah, Reed, thank you so much for finding this. The fact that this exists, it is pretty darn good. It's, there might be some small tweaks, but I would say, if there's something that you'd really like to go up on here, then absolutely, we can get it up
Maybe
on
that's
here.
phase two, maybe phase one.
Yeah.
Talking about like, let's write down what, like, for instance, Lynn, you're new, so like, what would have helped you to read before you ever walked into your first discretionary permit or pre-app review?
I mean,
That's not
I
a question,
guess,
it's a rhetorical question, sorry.
yeah, I guess I see it from like both sides. The website that you just showed, I mean, that's helpful to know what other people have to go through when they're coming to us. Like, what's the process that on the other side is also helpful. So I think versus like, what do we do? That's probably not that helpful and sort of muddied the water a little bit, but I'm not sure I'm far enough into this really to know what I need to know yet.
That makes sense.
But a page on our Conservation Commission materials on the website that said, if you're a conservation commissioner, this is the role that you're playing and what you're gonna do as DRB applications are coming through. And if you want to learn more about the whole review process, development review process, click here, and then you could go to that page that David just had. Does that sound, Lynn, like something that would help a new member like you?
Yeah. And I like this, like this bulleted list of things that we do, the development review. And I think it could be, some people could come thinking that our primary focus is are the ERF funds, and that there's not other things, because that's what you hear about, and maybe that's what you've read about, that there was a vote and you voted on it and it passed. And so it is helpful, like the list of things that come across our meetings is longer than probably most people realize, or the variety of things that we work on is wider than I think people realize.
I also think people think that we make decisions, and I think that could even be a perception of folks when like applying to be on the commission. So I don't know where to go with that, but just like that we make recommendations to decision makers.
Yeah, whether it's the DRB or the select board. That could be
or even the planning commission when they're doing the town plan or bylaw revisions. Like we don't revise the bylaw, we say, hey, we suggest the bylaws be revised and here's why and here's how, and then it goes on its process to the select board.
Okay, so I would love to turn these ideas into action a little bit here. So looking at this first section, this founding documents and reference links, I think it could be someone's job to take a look at this. Let's see, let's go back to Conservation Commission. This skeleton of a reference library, particularly with regards to general resources that we're interested in linking. I think it could be someone's job to take a look at that and say, okay, what other documents do we want to link to? What are the other important reference items that we'd want to include here that are, ready-made? This is somebody else's work. We're not reinventing any wheels here. These are just things that we'd love to have in this reference library, quick links that I can go back to. Many of these things some of these things in this bottom list here, particularly regards to Williston initiatives or things that have happened in the past in Williston, we already have sub pages for. So that could include, finding the links to those pages, what's already been done, what's already said about the major parks and open spaces. So I think it could be someone's job to just give a little bit of thought to that reference library, this sort of first big bucket of resources. And what do you think?
Who wants to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if someone has a sense of where some of these things already exist, like I think that's really what we'd be looking for here, right? Which is, direct links to the little catacombs and byways that are already in existence, right? So we would just take this document and drop a link into it because you know where it is, basically. Is that what the homework is for this one?
Yeah, that could be an easy way to do it. You could do it in this document, or you could just compile a set of links to give to me to put on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I think we could all probably contribute to that to some extent, but I would love, I mean, if someone wants to take the lead, then someone can sort of maybe take that first stab and then say, okay, I got what I want, but I'm still looking for this link to Catamount, right? And so then maybe we can finalize it after someone takes the first swing at it. Who wants to do that? I'm gonna sign up for the next one, so that's why I'm not signing up for this one.
Well, you've already looked at the first one with that, yeah. What's the next one?
Okay, well, let's talk about the next
Get
one.
on.
So the next one is the Conservation Commission About Us, and I really see this as what does the Conservation Commission do in your own words? So
yeah, these are words, not links.
Right, you're not explaining the development review process in detail. Like you're talking about the different components of what we do in more depth. I kind of see these first two bullet points as could potentially be merged, the About Us description and the scope of work. I think this was Dave and Eric having parallel ideas. So that could come together in kind of one blurb. What is the scope of work, or it could be two paragraphs. What do we do as a commission, and what is the scope of work? This timeline of important CC accomplishment milestones. Somebody who's been on the commission for a while and has a memory for that, or wants to look back through their notes and compile a list of accomplishments, even if you don't know all the dates, but could put together an approximate timeline of things that you would like to include. And then I could, go looking for records to support that if we need to know exactly when something happened. And then the last thing in this section is ERF, which I think this work has been done in the past. We have links, we have information about the ERF on the website. So that may largely.
There's gonna be a couple things missing that are newer. So the 30 by 30, like or 30 by 50, how did Williston develop the goal that went into the town plan? And and also our active and passive strategy that's evolving. Those things are not anywhere yet. So there's some missing. I was going to volunteer for the ERF one to pull together what we have and figure out what's missing.
Excellent.
So I want to take a stab at the about us description, and then maybe I'll reach out to Eric and get that list of the topics that he wanted to cover too. I think the list that I saw that Eric provided was a little bit more of a technical perspective, and I wanted to sort of more hit on the sort of typical agenda items that we will cover in a regular meeting. That's why I sort of organized it. We're either sending recommendations to the DRB, sending a budget recommendation to the select board, talking about ERF prioritization or the ballot measure, and then the sort of ongoing business like the trail work that we were just doing. I think that generally sort of fits the scope of work that we spend time on, and then public education. I'd like to take a stab at that with words, and then I'll bring it back.
Words.
Words.
Okay, words are great.
Words, not
Can
places.
we go back up to the first one that no one volunteered for?
Yes.
So the supporting public education, passion, enthusiasm for Wilson's natural areas.
Mhm.
That's the one that we need, right? Am I accurate? We need a volunteer.
Are you volunteering, Kim?
I'm asking if that is, well, I have an idea. Yes, sort of. That's the correct one that's unclaimed,
Yes.
right?
What's your idea,
Okay.
Kim?
So my idea is that in 2 weeks, my intro to Parks, Rec, and Tourism class is doing a module on leisure services, and I could have them fill this in as like an in-class activity and thinking about like how towns provision leisure services to the general public. And they could do maybe like a little bit more in depth than just like a link. They could in groups write like a little blurb about each location. And that's probably the only way that I have time to contribute at this moment.
Okay, and I could do whatever else is left.
Okay.
But I want to make sure everyone likes that idea and is okay with it.
So the only thing I was going to say is that with regards to items that were in this part of the list, many of these things do already have blurbs somewhere on the website. It's, it's not all super well organized, but there have been attempts to describe some of these things before. So
I was thinking like in class, they would go to those websites, right? Like basically they're like reading about them in real time, and then they would just like summarize one sentence link to the more information.
I'd love to see what they come up with for Brownell Mountain.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, taking a look at it and having.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that we necessarily would go with what they come up with, but it would be
No, totally. We can like get rid of if we just want the links at the end of the day.
Many of these things have been updated at different points in time, maybe even like 5 or 10 years apart on the website. So looking at consistency, I hesitate to say use AI, but they may want to take them and say like, take these 5 paragraphs and just make them more consistent in format, or do it themselves, so that they read, I don't know, what we say about Mud Pond versus what we say about Five Tree Hill. When a user reads it, it's more accessible and easier to understand if there's a consistent format to the way that we write about each of these places.
Kim, when does your class meet?
It meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10:50 to 11:40, and you would be totally welcome to come in and like explain how you are hoping it would be.
And then you said this is 2 weeks you're doing this module?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like the 29.
I was looking at the syllabus. Yeah, starting 9/29.
Okay. And what is the module officially?
It starts like a several week long module in leisure delivery systems, or I have it titled Delivery Systems in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. And it goes through parks and protected areas, public recreation, nonprofits, for-profits, therapeutic, recreation, unique groups, which are like like online, like esports, for example, and then leisure across the lifespan.
So the delivery system is like is the organization that provides leisure services? Is that right?
Yeah, or like the mechanism. So it's like it's a very broad term, but it's like anything that any leisure provisioning apparatus.
Does
Okay.
anyone have any concerns with Kim's class taking this on? And I would include you in that, Dave.
Well, I just want to I want to make sure that we could describe the project in such a way that they're definitely doing something for the town that we can use. So Kim, what I'm thinking is maybe I can take a look at kind of what exists for these documents in advance and just think a little bit about this idea. And then maybe we
Totally.
can find, yeah, maybe we can find a prompt that is a little more specific to the need. Because I love the idea of collaborating with the class. I just want to make sure we aren't unclear in what we're asking for, and that they're doing something and then decide not to use it, or it's not quite what we wanted, or that kind of thing. So I don't want to waste your and their time.
Okay, so maybe that'll work out, and
Yeah, so I'll take a look at that, and then Kim and I will touch base.
Okay.
It sounds like Laura was signing up for the other items under the first grouping. So that.
Okay, great. So just taking a scan through. I think the biggest part of that is really, I know to go find the WCC annual reports, but basically looking at this and saying, okay, what's missing, in terms of guiding documents? Are there any other things out there that'd be really helpful? General resources. The only one that we had on that was the sort of like information about 30 by 30. But there's probably dozens of things that might be useful to have links to from this page.
And Laura, I would be particularly interested in having an actual like write-up, not a write-up, but just a summary of like, what should a commissioner know about 30 by 30?
Okay,
Because
got it.
the link to the website is like, whoa.
A lot of
Yeah,
information.
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
And Laura and I can collaborate because there'll also be some information under the ERF
Okay.
section about 30 by 30.
Okay.
So
That sounds like a great place to leave off. There's probably more that we'll want to do, but let's kind of see where those assignments come out and put all.
Would it be possible for you to send out that like what we all just signed up for?
Yes.
And where we should.
Yeah, I mean, as long as everyone understands. So Reed is going to look at all the material exists in the ERF and come up with some language to update or edits to update that or tie it together. Dave, you're going to look at that about us / scope of the commissioner, kind of in our own words. What do we do? And you're going to communicate with Eric about that, because Eric has a lot of parallel ideas that could be incorporated. We'll leave off mini timeline for now. I'm going to look at the what exists with regards to the descriptions for parks and open spaces, trails, connections, conservation areas, and then communicate with Kim about how the students could make a contribution to that. And Laura is going to take a scan through this reference library, think about other resources that might be useful to put in there, and then also write this requested blurb about 30 by 30. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
your
And
contributions.
send out a link where we can either a Google Doc or something that we can all provide in a shared workspace. I know that we've done that with town plan before, and it doesn't get into any public meeting or
Sure.
notice requirements. All right, cool.
I don't have a lot of background here, but if there's a section that I can help with, especially external, maybe pulling in external resources where you don't need the inside knowledge, I'm happy to contribute.
Okay, well, let's
haven't
see how
seen-
far we get with these assignments, and then we'll
Yeah.
pull in you and Eric, and also just, I think, really, what else are we missing too, would be
Yeah,
helpful to
the
flag.
Eric and Kim kind of have the longest history. So the section about like a rough timeline of the Conservation Commission with key
Wait, when
milestones.
did that become the case?
Time passes.
Scary, isn't it, Kim?
I was
Yeah,
like,
Well,
surely that's not true.
it
I'm now
is
the
with
third
Gary's
most.
departure.
Yeah, I'm now the third most tenured person, which is crazy to me too, Kim. So I'm not saying that that needs to be an assignment right now, but just in my head, I'm like, yeah, Eric and Kim might be able to take the best stab at the timeline thing. And there was someone say, "Oh, Lynn, you'll be our litmus test, even if you're not doing a lot of writing here. Like, you're the one who doesn't have all the past knowledge, and so if you'll be able to tell us if it makes sense and if it's complete. So maybe you're our editor."
Yeah.
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 I'll be the test run person,
Exactly.
editor.
Great.
Okay, so I think that is drawing our meeting to a quick close. What other topics were on our list here?
So I'll just note with
That's right.
looking ahead to the future, next meeting is October 1st. That is when CSWD will be back for a review of the updated plan.
Mhm.
So I'll have all those materials for you to check out the finalized version of those plans. There is an HDA addendum underway right now. Arrowwood Environmental is taking a look at those plans, so you'll have that information as well in advance of that meeting.
Okay,
And we'll also be speaking with Alicia Daniel about Vermont Master Naturalist's proposal for town of Williston.
this is
So-
their budgeting proposal.
Yes,
Yeah, for
yeah,
Great.
2026, 27.
yes,
Is that right?
yeah.
Okay.
Great, so yeah, so we'll be taking a look at that on October 1st. And do you want to talk real quick about?
I do, but I also think we're gonna need to talk about, that memo to the select board for budgeting, is gonna start coming due. Cause I remember Eric and I working on that in the fall of last year. So we're gonna have to start thinking about that sooner rather than later about what our recommendation is gonna be.
And Eric's out on parental leave, so Aaron might need to be the person that we work with depending on when Eric comes back. I don't know.
Oh, right, Eric Wells, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you had me scared for a minute there, Reed.
No, not you.
I'm like, what?
I believe.
What? What? I just
I
realized,
didn't sign up for that.
yeah, I just realized that I forgot to mention something during public comment, which is that the Beaver film, New Neighbors, the Beavers on Brook, is showing on PBS. And it's showing
Cool.
tomorrow, the 21st and the 22nd. It's also available on Maine's PBS website to stream anytime. So just wanted to mention that it's going to be actually airing. And so if you have friends, neighbors that, maybe Kim, your HOA, maybe there's people in the HOA who should be haven't seen the film and should see it since it's so pertinent to their concerns about the beavers right now. It's going to be showing on PBS 3 times in the next week.
Yeah, I think 8 o'clock right tomorrow night.
Yeah, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then showing at noon on Sunday and 9 o'clock at night on Monday.
They still air television at specific times.
They do,
Yeah.
they do.
Okay, yeah, we'll do a quick update, for, Five Tree. We had a good site visit. I think we kind of came out with a preferred, solution set. We went to the spot, found a possible area where, chestnut tree could be planted. And I think that really what we should be thinking about is thinking about a bench as a solution for this. And a bench is more permanent. And there's no guaranteed viability for a chestnut in that area, whereas a bench, I think, is lasting permanent and would be welcome. Because even while the short time Dave and I were there, we saw like 3 groups come through. So it's like,
Yeah, usually one group has the bench and then the other groups that come up just have to kind of stand around and wait for the
Or
bench.
they sit on the rocks,
Or they
yeah,
stand rock.
yeah.
that's a perfect idea.
So you can't really see, I don't really see the bench in this area. It's somewhere over here.
Yeah, this is where people walk up to it, so it's like right there.
Is that the bench? I don't know.
That
Yeah,
one
I
I
hard
think it's
spot.
further back.
anyways, yeah, bench is somewhere.
There's a bench in there.
There's a bench.
Just one bench. There's one bench.
Yeah, one bench, and our thought, yeah, exactly. If we put another one next to it, that can have the plaque, and then back here, there's a little bit of space that will get, I think, enough direct sun, but also is a little sheltered for a seedling. We could clear back a honeysuckle bush that could have a little more sun, and then plant a chestnut potentially. It'd be out of the way, it wouldn't have a chance of being trampled, and up here is pretty droughty. It's a rocky knoll with thin soils, but there are oaks that have that are mature in the area, and they're a little small and stunted as trees tend to be on this. But if an oak can survive, chestnut may have a chance. It tends to be
Tap into something.
to my. I would have to research. We get some recommendations from some tree experts, maybe talk to Tony, but I believe chestnut can do well in similar environments as oak. It's similarly adapted to kind of disturbance, open areas. So that's a possibility, but like Dave said, it'd certainly be no guarantee that it would make it in the long haul.
Yeah, that's why I think the bench is the
Yeah,
guaranteed long term.
Are we done with this topic? Sorry.
So we're looking at bench designs.
Okay,
Did you get but before Eric left for his paternity leave, did you get the sign off that the bench and?
No, Eric was gone well before
Oh,
this conversation, yeah.
okay.
So,
But you didn't think that would be a problem?
no, I think adding a bench up there is something that would be a reasonable trail project regardless if we were trying to do this, so
mhm,
I think,
It's definitely getting a ton of use, that trail.
yeah.
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
We-
Okay.
One future topic that I'd like to be on our radar is, I know that through, David and Chapin and Intervale folks have been doing some invasives work, at Awazima and Hannock Tree Island. And I know some new invasive species were identified,
Hmm,
in the area. So I think we haven't talked about invasive species in a management plan or strategy for the town, but some of these infestations that are new species or new locations are fairly easily dealt with if we deal with them immediately. If we wait 2 years, they may be uncontainable. So
Right.
Things like Japanese knotweed
oh, boy,
behind the fire station. And a small infestation, there's a chance of maybe getting rid of.
Mhm.
If you've ever been to the Stowe Bike Path along the river there. If it starts going, there's no going back. The
Right.
entire Allen Brook will be Japanese knotweed. So
Mhm.
I'm really concerned about that. And I'd like to. Yeah, I'm gonna try to go visit the spot and see what it looks like, but I'd like to have a conversation about that one in particular, because it's so spreadable.
Mhm. Yeah, there are 5 Williston folks taking the Vermont Nationalist course, which starts their first meetings this Sunday. And they're gonna be talking about projects in October, so that could be a potential one. I will suggest to them, or anybody else has suggestions.
Basis management strategy for Williston in general would be a cool thing, just from the top of my head, but also specifically Japanese knotweed or any new invasives we've discovered in the last year and might have a chance of actually stopping before they get going.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Reed, I'll go with you to look at the Japanese knotweed. I'm trying to eradicate a patch in our Woodlands
Yeah.
and Willis and Northfield.
Okay, I will, yeah, text me and let's start a conversation about it.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, it's all right. I need to leave too, actually. So, if there's no other business, we'll close. Okay, hearing none, adjourned. Thanks, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.